We have a special Captain America themed treat for you this week, so enjoy Hero Blend number 7. So this week, I am sitting down with creative director of Cinema Blend, Mack Rawden. Welcome, Mack. How's it going, man?
Hi, Internet.
So we're actually going to be changing things up this week because, unlike some of my other guests, Mack, you are not what we would call a comic book pro.
I would say that would be nice.
That's not a nice way to put it. Okay.
I would say that I am incompetent.
Okay.
I like superheroes enough that I will go see the movies.
Sure.
I try to think about them a little bit when I leave, but I've never read a comic book.
Okay.
I don't read any, theories.
But there's an interest in there. You have an interest in what this is all about, kind of the attraction, which I definitely have kind of attracted to. So basically what we're going to talk about this week is because I was on the set of Captain America the Winter Soldier just last year, and the embargo is lifting today, we are doing a Captain America themed Mack Asks episode, which is basically Mack is going to ask me a series of questions about the history of Captain America. I'm going to let him know what the answer is, and of course let all of you know, because there may be questions that he's asking that you've always wondered, never knew the answer to. So Mack, hit me with the first question, man.
And I apologize in advance if any of these are that bad, but these are all genuine things that I have always wondered about.
Okay.
All right.
Totally fair.
So first, I got a little handy-dandy note cards here.
That's all
right, so my first question is, what is going on with Chris Evans' body in the first movie? He's like really tiny.
He's really tiny.
Is that CGI? Is it a different actor?
Honestly, when I first saw the movie, I was completely convinced that it was, they social networked it, where they put Armie Hammer's face on somebody else's body, which, totally legitimate way to go about it. However, I learned after the movie, no, that is entirely made up of Chris Evans doing the shot and then being shrunk down through digital plastic surgery to look into the most minuscule kind of weakling version of himself. So that is entirely movie magic, which I think is goddamn really impressive, personally.
Because even his bone structure
yeah, exactly. They really did an awesome job shrinking him down. So yes, that is the answer. Chris Evans in Captain America: The First Avenger, before he gets his Captain America powers, shrunk down digitally, not using a body double. So, interesting fact.
Awesome.
Hit me again.
All right. What is the deal with Peggy Carter?
Are
they, together? Are they not together? Do they have babies?
Being frozen in ice is going to always have kind of a problem in a relationship when one person is kind of left in the past and the person is frozen and left to be thawed deep in the future. But there are, that said, so naturally, Captain America does kind of leave her back in World War II in most lines of the comics, but there are the occasional alternate dimensions, different timelines, what-if stories, and there are. I mean, there was a House of M series back in 2005 that actually had Captain America staying back in World War II with Peggy Carter, getting married, and actually divorced. So who knows if that would have actually ended up being a happy relationship. But that being said. So we know Peggy Carter left in the 40s, Captain America is in our modern time, but Haley Atwell, the actress who played Peggy Carter in the first movie, is going to be in Captain America: The Winter Soldier. We don't know if it's going to be through flashbacks. Or it's possible that she could even be 90 years old, because in a deleted scene from the Avengers, we actually see that Peggy Carter is still alive. So there is a possibility that we could see Haley Atwell completely decked out in old age makeup as Captain America goes to revisit his past. Certainly, he's going to be doing that with the whole Winter Soldier storyline. So I think that there's an interesting future with Peggy Carter, especially on the big screen.
Awesome.
Okay.
All right. So this is a more general question about Marvel, but it applies to Captain America. Okay. So everyone always talks about how that Kevin Feige and Joss Whedon and all these shady characters at Marvel have plotted out everything for 20 years in advance into all these phases, right?
Yeah.
But then I'll hear oh, so-and-so was hired to write Captain America: The Winter Soldier. So when they're hired, are they given an outline that someone else wrote that they should write in, or are they just making shit up?
I think what it is essentially, and I mean, I don't know this for fact, but just from perception, kind of figuring it out and looking at their system, and from also obviously talking to the people that are involved on various press events. But from what I gather, what it essentially is Marvel has a very strict idea of what they want to do in the timeline. When they were making Captain America: The First Avenger, they knew that they eventually wanted the Winter Soldier somewhere down in the timeline, happened to be the direct sequel, but they were casting. They wanted Sebastian Stan to not only play Bucky Barnes in The First Avenger, but also Winter Soldier. So they do have those kind of big ideas planned. At the same time, though, they are like Marvel President Kevin Feige. They meet with filmmakers that they believe have interesting things to deliver, that they've seen do something interesting before. They bring them in for meetings. They say, what is your idea about doing anything related to this? They hear pitches, they get ideas, they move forward. It's an interesting process, and I'd say it's a shared creative idea because they know what they're doing. Kevin Feige has said that they have like the Marvel Cinematic Universe mapped out until at least 2021, which is very far in the future. So they have those broad beats, but I think it's up to the individual filmmakers to kind of address it on that more micro level.
So they can, play within a certain amount of time.
Right, exactly. Yeah, they have guidelines. It's almost like an episode of Curb Your Enthusiasm where you kind of, you're going to it with an idea of what you're supposed to do, and you can just kind of find your way there. Which I think is a really interesting way of filmmaking, and you kind of can't deny the results so far. So,
all right, that makes sense.
Maybe with the next one.
Okay. Does Captain America ever fight for anything that's not USA themed or patriotic?
It's like big. Okay.
Like, is he? Because when we've seen him before, he goes off to Europe to fight Nazis in World War II and whatever. And then we saw him go into action basically to save the world in New York City in this giant. So does he ever like stop an old lady or purse snatchers and
the weird kind of answer to this question is when Captain America was first created back in the 40s, it was obviously during World War II, and he was to some extent a almost propaganda-like character. Like he had comic book covers where he was punching out Hitler. He's the idea of this American going to war. And as the years have progressed, that's essentially what his role in the Marvel Universe is. Essentially to take care of the bigger stories. Like, he always has that government connection, having that war past. His history as a soldier, history as an agent. So he is kind of always taking care of that more macro stuff. While, of course, there are characters like Spider-Man and Luke Cage and Iron Fist who are all kind of taking down stuff on the street level. But Captain America is pretty much your kind of big picture guy. Is that really, Giver?
Yeah, no, that makes sense. All right. And the last question.
Last question, hit me.
And arguably the most important.
Okay. Bring it.
So, Thor has like the hammer, right? And then Superman can fly, and Spider-Man shoots the web things. Right. What does Captain America do? Does he have like the shield? Or?
Well, I think the best way to describe Captain America's abilities is essentially it's almost superhuman is kind of the perfect way to put it, because he is essentially the maximum human. He is as fast as a human can possibly be, as strong as a human can possibly be, even brains. He's an excellent strategist, as we've seen in the films and obviously through long history of comics. Obviously it's an extreme power set. He's quite great at fighting, as we've seen in these last two films. As for fighting against Thor, though, when you're fighting a guy that can shoot lightning out of his hammer and is essentially a god and can kind of headbutt Iron Man and cause a dent in Iron Man's helmet, you are dealing with a certain varying strength. That said, though, as you mentioned, he does have the shield, which is made of a special material called vibranium, which actually has the property where it can actually absorb any amount of energy that is connected to it, which is why in the Avengers, when we see Hammer bring down Mjolnir on the hammer down on the shield, why Captain America was completely unharmed.
So this is why in the first movie, when he's riding on his little motorcycle and he puts the thing behind him, he's just totally not worried about people shooting at him.
He is safe as fucking safe can be. And we should actually, I think there's a very good chance we could be hearing more about vibranium. It was actually the same material that Tony Stark created in his laboratory in Iron Man 2. Oh. So there are small little details kind of throughout there. In the future, potentially the Marvel Cinematic Universe, you have Black Panther, which is a character who lives in the African nation of Wakanda, which is where all of Earth's vibranium supplies exist, so there's potential there. I'm getting sidetracked. The point is, Captain America, Extremely smart, extremely strong, incredible shield. If he wants to take down Thor, it's probably best that he doesn't do it in a one-on-one environment. And but yeah, he's a pretty damn strong hero. So
it's not weird that he's an Avenger. He has
his place.
He's not the weakling.
Exactly, he has his place. So Mac, any final thoughts?
I don't think so, except that I have a lot more questions.
Do you have more appreciation for Captain America?
I do. Okay. I do. I think my perception of, after seeing the Avengers, was that he was kind of like team leader, rah-rah guy, but that other than the shield, he really didn't have a lot going for him.
He is definitely one of the strongest characters, and I think we're going to see a lot of great stuff from him in Marvel's Captain America: The Winter Soldier. So thanks for joining me this week, and hope to see you again soon.
Absolutely. Next time there's a superhero movie, I'll have more questions.
Fantastic.